Hello, fillies and colts! If you're up this late, it means you're here for a bedtime story, and I aim to deliver. This is DJ Cerberus, broadcasting from Club 3 Dog, in the metro under Pineapple Isle. To all you good ponies out there, come over and visit me sometime. And if you have a good story yourself, maybe I'll read it on air. But now, let's get back on track and get to the show. Oh, I have a special treat for all you good listeners. I'm going to start with a story of my own. Yes, dear listeners, even I, the great DJ Cerberus, bow wow wow, has a story of my own. And it's a good one. As you see, once upon a time, I was a young dumb mare who had dreams of glory, and, stop me if you've heard this one before, it all ends with tears. But let's not skip to the end, as the night is still young, and I've yet to finish my pineapple rum.
Fall at Equestria, the Sparkle-Lurker Nest, by Dice Warwick, read by Forrest McGilvray. Rhythmically, the train cart chugged along a dark tunnel, powered by two ponies pushing and pulling the lever. The tunnel itself seemed to only exist where our lights shined into it, seemingly disappearing into an oppressive darkness beyond our lights.
Hey boss, these rails remind me of you. Old and corroded as fuck, but still working just despite the natural world.
Pumping the lever across me was Beat Drop Bass, the biggest pony I've ever seen. Though he was not much bigger than the rest of us. However, Mirage ponies tended to get smaller from the norm, not bigger. Other than that, the stallion was exceptionally normal. Normal around here meant 4 metal legs, useless small horns and wings, and the tendency to shimmer when overcharged with magical energy. His gray-on-gray coat and mane nearly blended with his stripes, with the exception of the red streak he dyed into his mane. He only really did it because he thought it made him edgy as fuck.
Oh, aha. I'd like to see you crack jokes when you're using this rail line to run the fuck back home after you piss yourself scared.
Our boss on this expedition was an old ghoul unicorn by the name of Coinflip, whose face almost seemed to be ready to jump off at any time.
We're going in deep, and if there's any big and nasty thing out there, it's gonna come looking for us.
He had been around from the time just after every pony moved underground, so no stories about the times when things were better. The ghoul was also known to be one of the best hunters in the metro, only going out a few times a year, but always coming back with some lost treasure or the location of a new punga fruit grove.
Just remember, if you see something big and with claws, let me know.
With his magic, he opened up a compartment on his saddlebag, revealing a harsh blue light.
And I'll throw my jar of Twitter mites at him.
Hey, why do you still have those? You do know they're gonna be what kills you. Next to me, pumping the other lever, was Dynamic Daiko Rhythm. The mare had an orange coat that strangely contrasted well with her stripes, and a dark blue mane. One of the more fun ponies to hang with. She was actually the one who got me into the expedition, and had been working with Coinflip for years. Now, my door didn't swing that way, but I'll admit, I did have a little crush on her. Hey, Cabrita, what does the pitbuck say? I tapped on the screen of the pitbuck, and tuned it to the map screen. Coinflip had given me the pitbuck for the expedition, as I was born with one front left leg. It was nice, because it was one more than most of the ponies from my station had. We're nearly at the end of the tunnel, just a few more miles. Daiko shook her head. Just a few more miles, spoken like a true greenhorn. I'm not a greenhorn. I rolled my eyes. Picking cave fungus and punga fruit doesn't count. Daiko chuckled. Coinflip cleared his throat, which sounded like some pony had shoved a cat down it, and he was trying to get it back out.
Now will you stop teasing the poor girl? You're gonna drive her away before we can use her as a meat shield.
Both Daiko and I glared at Coinflip.
Okay, no death jokes. But seriously, tone it down.
The old ghoul took a glance around.
We're currently in no pony's land. Isn't no help coming our way if something happens.
The rhythm of the wheels on the old track persisted as we rolled our way down the tunnel, attempting to lull me to sleep. The rest of the rail ride was mostly uneventful, with only the odd attack by the local wildlife and a radroach attempting to hitch a ride. Unpacking from the cart, we all double-checked our gear, making sure that nothing was left behind. Each of us had our own battle saddle, saddlebag, rebreather, ammunition, and medical supplies. Attaching my gun to the right side of my battle saddle, I felt confident in myself. The old gun was an AG-2. It's not the best of the air guns, but it was cheap and reliable. The others had brought modified AG-3s. The air-powered shotguns have been given more powerful air pressure talismans that charge the guns faster than mine. Coinflip, on the other hoof, had an AG-5, a hunting air rifle that outclassed all of our guns. And to show how much of a successful bastard he was, he had 2 bits cut in half and welded on both sides of the rifle in the style of his cutie mark. Beat patted me on the shoulder with a prosthetic hoof. "Keep an eye on our flank, Cabriette, and don't hesitate to shoot anything that looks threatening. But conserve your ammo. 1 shot should be enough to kill and scare off the small critters. Also, don't fall behind. Even a few yards is enough for some of the beasts to come and get you." I nodded my head, smiling at Beat. "So, the normal stuff." He nodded back at me, smiling. "Yup, smartass." The hike started out simple, and we pushed onward into the oppressive darkness as we marched in a single file line. Coinflip at the lead, with Daco close behind. Beat was next, with the biggest bag of the rest of us. Finally, in last, was me, keeping any critter from following us. It never ceased to unnerve me, looking into the darkness. It felt like it was always slowly creeping up on me, devouring the tunnel. Back home, we stretched lights as far and wide as we could. From rows of bulbs, long stretches of tubes, and even by talismans, we banished the darkness. Even parts where the light did not go, most of us had a simple light spell talisman to illuminate our way. Here, the darkness ruled, and it was the light that was being banished from the tunnels. Daco quietly cleared her throat, sounding 100 times more elegant than Coinflip's. "So, boss, I know you like your surprises, but what is it we're looking for? If it's just another punga fruit grove, I'm gonna make you walk the rest of the railway home." Coinflip chuckled, which sounded gravelly and sick.
"What's wrong with punga fruit? This stuff helps you pay off all your debts. But no. Well, maybe, if we're lucky. The point of this expedition is more about where we're going."
Coinflip nickered, which also sounded gravelly and sick.
"We're headed to the Sparkle-Cola plant. Almost got there around a century ago, but the beasts were thick as radroaches on shit. So I had to bail before all my crew died."
"And what's changed?" Daco inquired.
"This time, we're staying underground."
Coinflip bloated.
"Took me a century and a lot of bits, but I found a route to the plant. No need to worry about paradise dragons, pod plants, and mega rad boars. As long as we stay in the metro, we should be able to avoid the worst of it."
"Excuse me?" Beat spoke up.
"I like Sparkle-Cola just as much as the next pony, but it doesn't seem worth risking our lives to get a saddlebag full of bottles." "That's where you're wrong, Beat-Drop,"
the ghoul responded.
"For you see, that plant didn't just make Sparkle-Cola, but it was also making Sparkle-Cola rad."
"And?" Beat said with a condescending tone, his head tilting as he held onto the word. Coinflip sighed.
"Other than being the most over-sugared soft drink in the world, the stuff was intensely radioactive. The shit glowed and made your piss glow too. In the early years in our underground homes, we'd periodically find the stuff. A bottle here, a stash of the stuff there. It wasn't until they got really scarce that they became in demand. And it turns out, the shit made awesome explosives. But better yet, the wealthy ponies started using the stuff to make glowing muffins and are sold for 100 bits each. 1 bottle is worth 250 bits at the cheapest."
Coinflip chuckled his gravelly, sickly chuckle. "Okay, that sounds far better than making 10 caps a bottle." Daco spoke up. "But how is it worth going this deep into the big island? You say we can get around the big beasts and all, but I still remember when a paradise dragon dug right into the metro. And on top of a hunter caravan. Like you said, if they smell us, they will come for us."
"Yup,"
Beat agreed. Another sigh came from Coinflip.
"Ye of little faith. The Sparkle-Cola Rad are just the frosting on the cake. The big prize is getting our hooves on the Sparkle-Cola recipe. Oh, there are ponies who come up with their own Sparkle-Cola, but I've yet found a pony who has made it just right. If they're making their Sparkle-Cola Rad there, they must have the recipe there for reference.
And if we got that, then we wouldn't need to keep hunting. Dago spoke in a hushed tone.
I can see ponies killing each other for an opportunity like that, Beat added. That's the idea. We get as much Sparkle-Cola Rad as possible, but the real prize is the recipe,
Coinflip boasted. I also had something to add, but not about Sparkle-Cola, but about the glowing eyes looking at us in the dark. The eyes were level with my own, but narrow and smaller. Using my small wing, I pulled the trigger. I missed, but the beast scattered. We got company.
What was it?
Coinflip asked. I don't know. Probably some mutant animal, maybe as big as us. I shook my head. There were 3 of them. Coinflip tapped his hooves.
Then let's move. We're too exposed here.
He set off at a faster pace, and we made sure to follow closely. My heartbeat picked up with our hoof steps, as though I was running from the darkness and into more darkness. Every time I took a look back, I could catch glimpses of predatory eyes looking at me, but they were still too far away for my EFS to detect them. The feeling and sounds of things breaking under my hooves drew my eyes down, something I regretted doing. Littering the floor were the bones of ponies who had long died, seeking shelter as the world burned in balefire. I saw things like this before on the Big Island, but mostly just in small piles. Hunters often leaving the 2-century-old bones where they lay, replacing them next to grave markers in a sign of respect. But here, so far away from where the hunters normally traveled, the bones were nearly impossible to step around. We had no time to push them out of the way, so we quickly trotted through them, the bones cracking under our hooves. Placing my rebreather on out of fear of random gas pockets being in the tunnel, I saw Beat and Daco do the same.
Shit. Nobody's been here for what? A century? Maybe 2?
Beat's voice was slightly muffled by the rebreather.
Yeah, looks like no pony has looted anything here. You think some willy hunter would have come out this far?
Daco commented.
You sure this is the right way, boss?
The old ghoul grumbled.
I got my information from one of the Orthos group spooks. Those ponies simply have a lighter step than you lot. Now stop yapping, we're almost there.
As per the orders from Coinflip, everybody stopped talking, and we quietly continued down the winding tunnels. It looked as though we were in a maintenance tunnel, with any rails far behind us, and a maze of pipes surrounding us. Even through our rebreathers, we could smell the damp rot and rust, and the periodic clicking from my pitbuck, reminding me of the ever-present danger of radiation. Worse yet was the writing on the wall. There wasn't much of it, but it was clearly the last words of the scared and angry ponies that were trapped down here. Some of the skeletons show the telltale signs of suicide. Many others were already broken and chewed up. This place made my spine tingle in a bad way. Coinflip would check the rooms ahead of us. With him being a ghoul, he didn't have to worry about being attacked by other ghouls and some of the other critters down here. It was an advantage for us, as we could clear rooms of ghouls quickly and quietly, sometimes by shooting them in the head or by trapping them in sealed rooms. But most of the time, he chose to shoot them. Most ghouls found the act of killing other ghouls as appalling, but Coinflip saw it as a mercy. It was a deal he had with Daco, that if he ever went feral, she or some other pony would put him down. It was understandable, as I heard a lot of stories about some pony using feral ghouls like guard dogs and armoring them up. Not a way I would want to spend my unlife. A small pool of glowing red water sat in front of us, marking that we had made it to our destination. It came from an old rusty pipe, slowly dripping from a leak. The glow was an odd thing to see, after spending so much time with the only light source coming from us. Coinflip, who was standing right next to the pool, then did something that made me cringe. He drank the glowing red water.
That's definitely Sparkle-Cola Rad.
Coinflip smiled at us, his rotten mouth glowing red. We entered the maintenance shaft. He headed up into the plant. Each step on the rusted stairs creaked, and I dared not place a hoof on the safety rails in fear of it dropping and calling every monster around. It didn't take long to get to the top, but that was the easy part. The problem was that the door was locked, and the lock itself was rusted. It was odd. In my life, most of the old world locks worked just fine, as though the world never ended. This one, however, did look like it was 2 centuries old. The old ghoul knew his way around a locked door, and his solution to the problem was by simply removing the hinges. Rust 0, coin flip 1. Though it did take some extra effort to remove the door, it was far less easier than breaking through the lock. Stepping into the Sparkle-Cola plant, we were greeted with the humid air of Marewaii and the red glow of a Sparkle-Cola rad bottle. Stopping in front of us, Coinflip held out his hoof.
Just because we're here does not mean any of us can get sloppy. We're going to split up into 2 groups of 2 and look for that recipe. Greenthorn, you with me. Deco and Beat, you 2 check upstairs.
We all put our hooves up as well and nodded our heads. Deco and Beat trotted off, bagging the glowing cola bottle on the way. Alone with Coinflip, I followed as he went in another direction, further into the dark Sparkle Cola plant. The room we entered was just as dark as the rest, with only the occasional glowing bottle to add some light. It was easy to tell that this had once been a small office room, with terminals inside of 6 cubicles. A door was at the end of the room, which looked tightly shut. It had its own terminal. Coinflip trotted up to the door and pressed a button. It gave a soft buzz.
Thought so. Gabriette, go check out those cubicles and see if anything useful is on those terminals. I'll see if I can hack this door open.
The first desk didn't have much, except 2 Sparkle Cola bottles, one of which I opened up and guzzled down. It helped to calm my nerves. The terminal turned on without a problem. Stapletech did build them to last. Like the desk, the terminal didn't have much on it, just a few messages.
Company announcement. The Sparkle-Cola Corporation is pleased to announce to all its employees that the first shipments of our Sparkle-Cola Rad are on their way to retailers in the Marewaii area. This flagship test market program is the culmination of a 3-year research program to bring the refreshing taste of Rad to the market. Congratulations to all employees on a job well done.
Well, that was something we already knew, so I selected the next message.
New flavor coming. Attention all Sparkle-Cola Corporation employees. We are very proud to announce that R&D has been completed on Sparkle-Cola Fusion. With only a minimal loss of life, we've been able to modify the look of Sparkle-Cola, but give it that same great taste. We will be submitting the product to marketing shortly for bottle design and advertising strategies. From all of us in the research department, thanks for the support.
Well, that was different.
Hey, Coinflip. It looks like they made a new Sparkle Cola here. Not Rad. It's called Fusion.
The ghoul was busy working on the terminal.
Well, see if you can find anything else on it. Might be worth something.
I checked the next file down. From Slippy Step to Fizzle Pop.
Is it really safe? I don't know about Rad. The idea of it, I get. Having a glowing drink that has more kick to it sounds awesome. But using flux to make this stuff seems a bit extreme. I know they say there's no harmful side effects to this stuff, but have you seen Wax on? He is literally glowing now.
Well, that's a problem. Stuff like flux was banned in the metro. Not that any pony wanted to bring the stuff in. Every now and then, the Orthos group would put on live demonstrations on why we don't want the stuff anywhere near us. The demonstrations would consist of them pouring pure flux onto a radroach, and having every pony watch the bug rapidly mutate before setting the thing on fire. It was simple, effective, and gave me nightmares for a month. I checked the next terminal, which had the same 2 messages as before, but the desk did have a bottle of Sparkle Cola Rad that I pocketed. The third terminal was the same as the last two, but I did score an old pocket watch that could be fixed. Checking the fourth desk, I found a few strange oddities. The first was an old glass tank. Nothing was in it but sand and rocks, and the words, "My babies," was written on the side. Also, the desk had 6 bottles of Sparkle-Cola Rad. Each one had a tag on them, but the writing was too faded to read. I bagged the cola and checked the terminal, which had one new message.
Just stop it. This is your 5th warning. Stop bringing your pets to work. Pony shoe crabs may be sanitary, but no pets means no pets. No, just because you call them your babies does not mean you can bring them on take your foal to work day. No pony found that funny. No, they can't become our new mascot even if you taught them to drink Sparkle Cola. It's just weird, and I'm starting to have nightmares. And no, just because you got one of your pets to glow by consuming Sparkle Cola Rad does not mean we can use pony shoe crabs for a marketing stunt. That would only cause a riot, not boost sales.
What the fuck was a pony shoe crab? The 5th terminal was broken and had a really old out-of-order sign on it. Checking the desk, it was full of paperwork and nothing else. The last terminal was working and had another new message on it. Checking the desk before reading, I scored another Sparkle Cola Rad and 2 Sparkle Cola glass cups with a bottle cap embedded into them. Definitely a collector's item. From Fizzlepop to Slippy Step.
Stop worrying. I've talked to the mayors down in R&D, and don't tell any pony this, but yeah, it has some side effects. Might be addictive too. They're working on making it safer. Just give them a few more months. From how it sounds, when we release Sparkle Cola Fusion, that's when we change out the formula for Rad to the safer stuff. So keep your lips shut, and don't drink too much of the Rad, not until the Fusion is out.
And jackpot.
Hey, coin flip. Looks like the Sparkle Cola Rad is a dead end. Needs flex to make the stuff. But the Sparkle Cola Fusion is probably clean.
Coinflip shook his head.
Shit, really? No wonder tunnel crawlers started glowing red 50 years back. Should have told him to stop drinking that shit.
A soft beep chimed from the door.
And open sesame. Ah, fuck.
Coinflip jumped to the side as a lurker charged in. The lurker was a monster of a crustacean. It walked on 4 pincer-like legs. 2 gigantic pincers waved in the air, and a thick shell made it nearly bulletproof. I had seen one before on the surface, but those ones were light gray, and this one was a dark purple, and glowing red at the joints. The old ghoul popped a shot at the lurker's face. At the Sparkle-Lurker's face.
Shoot the damn thing, Cabrita. Use sats if you need to.
The Sparkle-Lurker lumbered over at Coinflip, holding a claw to protect its face.
You cheeky bastard.
The claw didn't block my line of sight of its face, so I turned on sats and the world slowed to a barely noticeable crawl. The pitbuck gave me a 78 on my chance to hit the face. I took it, selecting 4 shots and falling out of sats. As the spell resolved, each of my bullets found their target, but none doing enough damage to take it down. It was at least enough to turn the Sparkle-Lurker's attention to me. It lowered its first claw and raised the other one before lumbering in my direction. A big mistake. Another bullet from Coinflip's hunting rifle found a home in the Sparkle-Lurker's face, and the monster collapsed to the floor. Blue blood slowly oozed from its face, creeping me out.
Is its blood supposed to be blue?
I asked Coinflip. He shrugged.
As far as I can tell, the blood has always been blue. I've heard they make good eating. Maybe we should take some meat with us.
Poking at the Sparkle-Lurker, I looked back at Coinflip.
I'd rather not have my saddlebags covered in blue blood.
Coinflip chuckled.
Then let's get going.
Following Coinflip, we entered into a large room that had been flooded with glowing red liquid. Luckily, the catwalk was still high enough that I didn't have to step into the obviously radioactive stuff. The liquid itself seemed to have come from the large vats that once held the radioactive cola, but were now covered in rust and cracks. Altogether, it gave this place a foreboding feeling of wrongness.
Greenhorn, eyes up. There's going to be more lurkers about.
Coinflip warned.
There always is.
Sparkle-Lurker.
I corrected.
What?
I pumped my magic into my AG2, making sure it was fully pressurized.
You know, because they live in this Sparkle Cola plant, and now have the color of the cola.
The old ghoul smiled. Some of his rotten teeth could be seen through a hole in his cheek.
Missy, I like you.
It was not long until my pitbuck slowly started to tick, warning me that the radiation was getting stronger the further inside we went. So I popped some Radex for some extra protection, and I hoped I didn't walk out of this glowing red. There were a few parts where the roof above had collapsed, breaking the catwalk. Luckily, the rubble was above the cola, and I could simply go over it with a hop, skip, and a jump. Looking up only revealed that we were probably still underground, the holes giving no natural light. To my surprise, Daiko was looking at me through one of those holes, waving. I waved back, and she nodded before disappearing.
Looks like Daiko and Beat are doing fine up there.
I said quietly.
Also, why don't we have telepathy talismans?
They get weird here in No Pony's Land.
Coinflip responded just as quietly.
Hard to explain. Probably something to do with the radiation, but the messages sent come out garbled. The worst case I've heard of was when some pony would get the messages, but each time it was from some pony that wasn't there.
I nodded.
So, what about the radio?
He shook his head.
Same shit, more dangerous. The magic around here can make a radio go weird.
He lifted his pitbuck.
I'd show you, but it'll call every lurker in this place.
Putting his leg down, Coinflip went back to crouched walking. It didn't take long to find the next Sparkle-Lurker, though its red glowing joints and dark purple shell helped it blend into its surrounding exceptionally well. 1, 2, 3 shots from Coinflip's hunting rifle, and the confused Sparkle-Lurker was dead. The advantage of an air-powered rifle is that there's no need for a silencer when the gun makes almost no sound when firing. Another Sparkle-Lurker was not far from the last, but it wasn't facing our direction, so Coinflip couldn't get a headshot at it.
Gabriette, take a pot shot at the pipe to our right.
The ghoul whispered as he pointed to the right and a bit above us. I nodded and took aim, my small wing pressing on the trigger and letting one ball bearing go. The Sparkle-Lurker turned to the sound, pincers raised. Coinflip got in a lucky shot, and the Sparkle-Lurker stumbled back from getting a ball bearing in the eye. Following up with 3 more shots, the lurker was dead.
My rifle needs a charge.
He levitated his rifle over to me. Nodding, I touched my hoof to the gun, focusing my magic from me to the rifle's air pressure talisman. Levitating the rifle back to his side, Coinflip checked the pressure gauge.
That should do it.
Passing the 2 dead Sparkle-Lurkers, our safety on the catwalk ended with us now walking through the Sparkle Cola Rad. My pitbuck protested. Prepared for such treks, my front left leg was well covered in polymer shoe and thick rubber leggings taken from an old hazmat suit. A mare had to look after her assets, even if she only had 1 out of 4. Further in, we found 1 more Sparkle-Lurker, but this one was bigger and meaner looking. Its pincers were easily twice as big as the others, and I bet its shell was thicker too. Coinflip shook his head.
It's a fucking hunter. It's gonna take more than 3 shots to take it down.
Can't we just go around it?
An honest question, but one I already knew the answer to.
No,
Coinflip said flatly, and pointed to the Sparkle-Lurker.
The damn thing is standing right in front of the next door. If there was another way around, it's long gone now.
The only other direction was to go back the way we came, but that might mean we would miss getting something real good.
So we kill it?
We do.
Coinflip responded, lifting up his hoof.
But first, we wait for me to get a few shots in. We might get lucky if it's weaker than it looks.
I nodded. The first shot to the face, and the Sparkle-Lurker was aware that it was being attacked. By the second shot, the Sparkle-Lurker spotted us. It lowered its head and charged, making it impossible to hit its face until it closed in. Coinflip kept his hoof up, waiting for the lurker to get closer, and when it was nearly on us, the ghoul dropped his hoof, unleashing the shots as fast as my diminutive little wings could pull the trigger. Coinflip fired with more precision, aiming at the weak points. The team attack was enough to confuse the Sparkle-Lurker. Its attention divided up between us. Its pincers flailed at us, only inches from striking me in the face. Coinflip used this opportunity to take another shot at the lurker's face, practically sticking the barrel of his rifle in a wound on the lurker. I swear, I could hear the ball bearing bounce off the inside of the Sparkle-Lurker's shell before it collapsed. Looking at the Sparkle-Lurker hunter, I realized how close it had gotten to decapitating me. My body shook, and my breath became shallow and rapid. I tried to calm myself down, to tell myself it was over, but my body didn't want to respond.
Fucking hate fighting the hunter types.
Coinflip wiped some of the blue blood off of his face.
The damn things always close the distance.
He looked over at me for a few seconds and sighed.
Come here, kid.
He lifted a hoof and beckoned me over. I just walked over to him and let him put a hoof around me. He felt weird. Nothing like the other ponies. More squishy and rough. We stayed like that for a few long seconds, maybe a minute. The shaking and the hyperventilating subsided, allowing me to properly calm down.
Feeling better?
Coinflip asked, and I nodded. Letting me go, the ghoul checked the pressure on his rifle.
It doesn't get easier. You only learn to control it better. Always remember that.
I nodded. The door the Sparkle-Lurker was standing in front of looked in far better condition than the rest of this place. Charging the pressure on my air gun, I watched as Coinflip pressed the button to open the door. With a soft hiss, the door slowly opened, disappearing into the wall on its left and right. Fortunately, there were no Sparkle-Lurkers standing on the other side, just a red glow. Unlike the room we were in, the red glow was smaller and individual. Bottles and bottles of Sparkle-Cola Rad. Coinflip rubbed his hooves together.
It's 1,000 bits for every 4 bottles at the least. And this is what, a good 100 or more of them?
The ghoul trotted in.
Let's load up and get rich.
Following him, I quickly began bagging as much Sparkle-Cola Rad that I could reach, the bottles rattling around with each new addition. The Pitbuck sorting spell kept all the bottles from moving about in my bag, filling the bag as efficiently as possible.
Gabriette.
Taking a look at one of the bottles, the bottle cap had a little more detail than the normal Sparkle-Cola cap. I wonder if they were worth anything to any pony.
Gabriette.
I found an envelope that held a bunch of mint-condition posters. This has got to be worth something. I bagged it.
Gabriette, will you stop scavenging for a moment and take a look over here?
My ears turned to Coinflip's direction, and so did my head. I walked over to where he had gone. I entered into a large room, not as large as the room with the vats, but larger than the one I was just in. Also, right damn in the middle was a punga fruit tree. Most of the time, punga fruit grew on little sprouts, barely pony height, but sometimes they grew into large trees that produced a psychoactive hallucinogen. But unlike most other trees, this one was gnarled and black, creeping me out a bit. Stranger yet, the tree had what looked like red glowing veins, and the punga fruit hanging off it were like mini red lanterns. Trotting my way over to the tree, Coinflip stopped me.
Bad idea.
He pointed to the ground around the tree. The punga tree was sitting in a pool of rainbow-colored fluid. The same kind of fluid Orthrus used in these demonstrations. Flux.
As curious I am to how it tastes, I bet that stuff will kill or mutate on a pony in one bite.
So, will you leave it alone and get back to looting?
I asked. Coinflip nodded.
Just make it quick. And I do mean make it quick. Who knows how much more of that stuff is around? I'd rather not go back with a mare who's grown 5 tentacle legs.
That made me shiver. Tentacle legs would be the worst. I quite liked my one normal leg, and my other 3 mechanical legs were just fine. Returning to looting, I found 3 lamps that looked like bottles of Sparkle-Cola Rad and bagged them. Let's see. A brick of promotional Sparkle-Cola Rad postcards, bagged. Some Sparkle-Cola Rad keychains, bagged. To top it all off, a bunch more Sparkle-Cola Rad all went into the bag. My bag started to feel heavy, which means I was nearly done looting. There was a bunch more things, but if I took them, I ran the risk of slowing down the group. There was one more thing that caught my eye. A tall pony sculpture. It had a shiny dark purple coat and glowing red joints and eyes, and it was standing in front of the door. "Hello," it spoke. I screamed. Coinflip rushed over to me, his hooves sliding to a stop.
The fuck, girl? What's the matter?
I pointed to the doorway, but the Sparkle-Lurker thing was gone.
I saw something.
Saw what? Use more words.
Coinflip helped me back on my hooves. I hadn't noticed that I had fallen onto my flank. Collecting my breath, I quickly looked around, not seeing it.
It was a pony, but it looked like a Sparkle-Lurker too, with all the glow. It did.
I was afraid of this.
Coinflip shook his head.
I took a closer look at the flex pool. I poked a hole in it and all that.
What did you find?
I asked. The old ghoul sighed.
Bones. Looks like the Sparkle-Cola staff took shelter in that room and promptly died there. From my long time in adventuring, the mix of dead bodies, hallucinogenic trees, and flux are as bad news as you can get.
He put a hoof on my forehead.
Let's get out of here before you start seeing the dead rise from the floor, or oranges jumping around with frogs' legs.
I nodded.
Yeah, let's go. It seemed so real that the hairs on the back of my neck are still freaking out.
I swung my head over to see that Coinflip was now on his back on a broken table. Broken bottles of Sparkle-Cola and Sparkle-Cola Rad leaked their soda all over. I could hear a soft chuckle coming from the other side of me, so I turned my head. There it was, nearly 2 ponies tall, hard dark purple shell. Its joints and eyes had a red glow. The thing looked like a pony, but it was definitely not a pony. With a mane that looked like overgrown fins with red glowing spines. The tail was long, armored, and at the end, thin fins much like its mane, folded out on the side. I also got a distinctive she feel from it, being curvier than Daco.
The words, what are they?
The creature had a 2-toned voice. One sounded like a mare, but the other was like a screeching wail.
Intruders, burglars, rude? I think those are the words.
She stepped around me, her long legs moving her between me and Coinflip.
Why is it that food comes here, killing my attendants, taking my treasures, insulting my existence?
The monster brought her nose up to my face and sniffed me.
Fresh. Never had fresh before.
She tilted her head.
Is this what fresh food does? Kills? Takes? Insults? Tell me. You can talk. I heard you talk.
My leg was shaking, my breath shallow and growing rapid.
Yes, I can talk.
The monster stepped back and giggled.
Oh, wonderful. All other that could talk were rotten, tasting terrible. Foreman talks to, but only wants to teach me things. So boring. I'd eat him too, but I can't eat metal.
She clapped her hooves together.
Oh, yes, you can tell me things. Things not on the terminals. Fun things.
She scratched her chin.
Oh, better yet. Did Captain Andromeda finally beat the striped aliens from Planet Z?
I was both confused and scared.
Captain Andromeda? Sorry, I don't know who that is.
The monster's eyes flared with an unnerving red light.
You don't know? How could you not know?
She got back on all fours and slowly, taking small steps back up to me until our faces touched.
The captain is the greatest hero ever. If you don't know her...
Her eyes looked me over intently.
You're looking mighty stripy.
Her head pushed against mine, and I slowly backed up.
Oh, how foolish of me. And here I thought I found some reasonable food to talk to. But you're just a stripy stripe. What do you have to say for yourself?
Too close. She was just too close.
What?
The monster shouted in my face.
I know what I should. What I should have done at the start. I'll eat you, drink you, and make you into fizzy cola.
The eyes burned red, and I felt like there was something in my head, trying to get out.
Bitch! Captain Andromeda has been off the air for over 2 centuries.
Coinflip collided with the monster, and they both landed on the other table. Promotional items went flying. Among them were hats that looked like old military caps. The purple caps had a metal plate on the front, displaying the logo for Sparkle-Lurker. One of the caps fell on the pony lurker's head, obscuring her face a little, which only made her more frightening to me. The old ghoul pushed himself out from under a box of bottle caps that had spilled all over him.
Get the fuck out of here, kid!
I didn't need to be told twice, so I ran, splashing into the red glowing cola water. I paid no mind to my pitbugs clicking, or how I managed to splash myself with the radioactive cola.
No, you don't.
I nearly fell over when Coinflip slid past me, splashing me with even more radioactive cola.
You stay.
Suddenly, something hit my head, my ears ringing like they never rang before, and my head felt like it was trying to split open. I could hear the monster stepping into the cola, with each step splashing as though she was announcing her anger with her hooves. The hairs on the back of my neck suddenly jumped up, and I quickly rolled to the side, completely soaking me in the glowing cola. It sounded like a shriek, but whatever it was, it hit where I was with a splash. Turning to look at the monster, she still had the hat on, it tipping to the side where her fin-like mane was not hanging. A fang-filled grin was on her face, and a dagger-like stare looked down at me. The hairs on my back were freaking out again, and I jumped back. This time, I saw where the shriek was from. Somehow, the monster was shooting sonic waves at me.
You think you can escape me? You think you are not my food?
She got closer, faster. Then I backed away.
It would be best if you forgot such notions and just stay there and let me eat you.
Blue blood flew from the monster's cheek. A steel ball from Coinflip's rifle only grazed her, but it was enough to catch her off guard.
You like that? Why didn't you try another?
Coinflip fired another shot, and the monster put a hoof up, protecting her head. Stumbling over with blue blood leaking from her hoof, the monster cried out in pain. Taking aim, Coinflip readied his rifle to finish off the monster.
Die, abomination!
Coinflip was tackled from above, making his shot miss. On top of him was another monster, much like the last one, but closer to pony-sized. Another difference was that its fin-like mane was much shorter and stayed straight up. Along with that, its eyes were a solid red. I fired my airgun at the monster, ball bearings smashing into it as it futilely attempted to block them. After the thing fell back dead, I rushed over to Coinflip and helped him up. That's when I heard the sounds of something above me. A lot of something, in fact. Looking up, I could see many pairs of red glowing eyes looking back down at me. I dared not count how many of them there was, but I could see that they were coming out of the holes in the vats, and some of them were the size of foals. My vision became fuzzy, reminding me of the sonic attack that hit me earlier.
Coin, we got to run. Like, right now.
Coinflip pushed himself up and joined me in backing away slowly.
On 3, we run. 1.
The new monsters descended from the vats, splashing the water and looking at us as some sort of curiosity. They didn't surround us, but they were following our movements.
2.
A bunch of the larger lurker ponies gathered around the first one, forming a wall of them. She was still far bigger than them, her head far above them. It made it easy for us to see her glaring at us with hate.
3.
We bolted, and the lurker ponies followed. Luckily, we had gotten to the catwalk before the lurkers had gotten to us. With solid metal under our hooves, we bolted towards the exit, not looking back. Sadly, the lurker ponies were waiting for us and had closed the door, trapping us in.
What do we do? What do we do?
My hooves frantically tapped on the ground, ready to bolt in another direction. Coinflip sighed.
Sorry, Cabrita.
The lurkers quickly surrounded us. With no place for us to go, they just stared. I shook my head in frustration.
No. We need help. Daco and Beat should be around.
Coinflip opened his mouth. I knew what he was going to say, telling me to let them get away, that it was too late for us. I didn't want to hear it.
Help! Daco! Beat! Help! Help us! Help!
Such loud food. Such annoying food. This is no good. No good at all.
The Sparkle-Lurker queen chuckled.
I'll have to fix that. But first, I'll have to add...
She rotated her hoof.
Seasoning is the word. Yes, I'll have to add seasoning.
One of the other lurkers gave a jar of rainbow liquid to their queen, her holding it on top of her hoof.
Just let us go.
I cried out. The Sparkle-Lurker queen grinned, her fangs sharp and white.
No, I don't think I will.
She tossed the jar at us, it sailing through the air, seemingly homing in on us. Coinflip shoved me behind him and took the full hit of flux.
Kid, stop panicking and get out of here.
He pointed up, and I could see Daco and Beat looking down at us, dropping the rope for us. It landed at our hooves. I quickly tied it to myself. I took the extra length and hoofed it to Coinflip. The ghoul didn't take the rope. Instead, he attached his gun to my bag and took mine.
What are you doing?
Giving you time to get away.
His face had fallen off, leaving a skull with eyes and a tongue.
Now get.
He looked up at the others and shouted,
Pull the rope.
With a sudden tug, I was lifted into the air. Some lurkers made attempts to jump at me, but Coinflip shot them before they could reach me. Lurkers that got too close to the ghoul got smashed in the face with my air gun. I watched as it didn't take too long for him to be overwhelmed. Holding down the ghoul, the Sparkle-Lurker queen looked up at us, at me, dangling in the air, out of reach.
Give me the fresh food, and you can have your rotting back.
There was a momentary pause, a pause that was interrupted by laughing. It was Coinflip, looking at the Lurker Queen with his skinless face and laughing.
What so funny?
Your negotiation skills. That's what's funny. That, and...
His horn glowed with his magic.
That, and what?
The Lurker Queen asked, confused. With his magic, he lifted out his jar of Twittermites. The blue light harshly drowned out the red glow.
That, and I have a jar of Twittermites.
Smashing the jar on the side of the catwalk, the thunderbugs swarmed out, their buzzing filling the air and making every hair on my skin raise up in protest.
What is this? What did you do?
Cried the Lurker Queen. Beat pulled me out of the hole right before the sound of a loud zap filled the air. I attempted to take a look to see what happened, but Beat held me back.
No time for that, Cabrita. We're bugging out now.
With a shove, I was now running behind Daiko, with Beat closely pushing me from behind. We rushed through a hallway, having to jump over a Mr. Hover that was painted in the Sparkle Cola colors. Practically flying down a stairwell and sliding down some wreckage, we arrived where we had first split up. Daiko stopped for a quick moment, making sure we were behind her. With a wave of her hoof, she was off again. The old rusty stairwell sounded like it was ready to fall apart as we ran down it, with some of the safety rails falling off and crashing down below. Not even taking the time to carefully go around obstacles, We jumped over the pool of Sparkle-Cola Rad and smashed through the skeletons. After making some time, my chest felt like it was on fire, and my head was showing how bad a migraine can be. Looking back, Daiko stopped to take a look at me. I almost smacked into her, and Beat slid to a stop, almost colliding with us.
Shit. Take a healing potion before you pass out,
he said, passing the bottle over to me. I greedily choked it down. All the pain didn't go away all at once, but it quickly became more bearable. Daiko passed me another healing potion, and I drank it, making everything I felt even more bearable.
So, what the fuck were those things?
I could feel the anger and confusion in her voice, as well as some concern. I took a little while to catch my breath, my heart still pounding like a drum.
Mutant lurkers, I think, maybe.
I took a deep breath.
I don't know, but they looked like the lurkers that were there. That's all I know.
Beat put a hoof on my shoulder.
This is not the time for questions, Daiko. We need to keep moving. When we're on the cart, then you can berate her with questions.
Daiko sighed and nodded. We returned to traveling down the path we had come from, with one less pony in the group. There was no chatter, no stopping to take a look at things, nothing but 3 quiet ponies, heading back home. It was an odd thing, following our hoof prints. It made me wonder how long it would be until some other pony follows our hoof prints to the Sparkle-Cola plant, and if they might find Coinflip alive. The eyes returned, still behind us, and I would periodically take a shot at them with Coinflip's rifle. I think I killed one, but that didn't seem to deter the other eyes from following. At the very least, they were staying back more than last time. When we were nearly at the cart, we heard a loud shriek from behind us. The eyes were gone, probably attacked by a bigger predator. This only made us move faster, hoping to get to the cart before one of us became that something's next lunch. Seeing the cart, the 3 of us broke out into a sprint, jumping onto the thing and placing our saddlebags in the container compartment. Taking off my battle saddle, I noticed that one of the promotional hats for Sparkle-Cola Rad had snagged itself onto the battle saddle and had been pulled out of my bag. Putting on the hat, I sighed. It was a piss-poor trade for a pony's life. Sitting next to Daiko, I could feel her anger. If she hated me, I'd understand. I told that fool that holding onto a jar of Twitter mats would kill him, Daiko said as she shook her head.
When we get back to Charon's stop, let's have a toast to the old adventurer.
Beat had finished packing and sat across from us. I'm sorry. It's my fault he didn't make it out, I said, lowering my head. Daiko pushed down the lever and began to move slowly. I got to thinking on our way here, I came to the conclusion that the old fool killed himself. Don't be sorry about it. She patted me on the shoulder. Death is something that happens out here. Coinflip simply kept on living past his own death so long ago. So don't feel sorry. He died how he wanted to live.
Throwing a jar of Twitter mites at something he shouldn't be messing with,
Beat said, but daring not to add anything to his statement as Daiko glared at him. Looking past Beat, I could see some light, and an ever so faint red glow. Fuck, they're not dead! Daiko leaned up to get a look, and Beat turned around. It was only a glow, but I knew it was a Sparkle-Lurker. Looking through the scope of Coinflip's rifle to get a better look, the lurker lit up. It was the Sparkle-Lurker queen, with Coinflip's pitbuck on her leg. Behind her were other pony-like Sparkle-Lurkers, all staring in my direction. The other 2 went to work on the levers, picking up the cart's speed and putting distance between us and the lurkers. There was a few critters that attempted to get on the cart as we moved, but Coinflip's rifle made short work of them.
So, did you get anything good down there? Before,
Daiko was still dejected, but the break in the silence was comforting. Got a ton of Sparkle-Cola Rad, and a bunch of promotional stuff for the cola. Gotta be worth a lot of bits. What about you? It was a good haul, but would have been better with Coinflip here to share in it. We found a formula for something called Sparkle-Cola Fusion, and a bunch of Sparkle-Cola Rad. Daiko's voice sounded unsure, but she quickly gained a look of resolve on her face. I'd start making my own Sparkle Cola. Get out of the hunting business.
You'd better share in that business venture. I'd like to retire from hunting too.
Beat smiled, now being the only one pushing the lever. Right. I'll need some ponies I can trust. She glanced in my direction. What about you, Cabrita? I thought about it for a moment. Well, it does sound like a safer business. Maybe I could help out a little. Daco hugged me.
That's the spirit. I see a bright future for us.
Then, the lights went out, and we were smothered in darkness. What the fuck is it this time? It was not all dark. A faint red glow allowed us to see. I could just barely make out Daiko's face, but she was looking at me, confused. Is there one of those monsters behind me? She shook her head and took off my hat. The red glow became a little brighter, not by much, but enough that I could see Beat now. It was my hair. It was glowing, Sparkle Cola rad red. The gray stripes were still there, but it was fucking glowing now. I quickly checked my tail to find that it was glowing red as well. It must have been that jar of flux, and that I was soaked in that glowing cola. I looked back to Daco in panic. What do I do? What's happening? What?
Daco poked me on the head. We'll get to a doctor as soon as we can, but nothing else looks wrong with you, so calm down.
Taking a deep breath, I decided to push at the lever to help calm me down. Daco hadn't gotten the light back on yet, but she was using my mane to help her work on the thing. Looking around, the darkness felt different now. It's still trying to devour the light, but under the red glow, I felt that it at least seemed wary of me. The light came back on, and Daco returned to her seat. You can put your hat back on, Nightlight. Heh, Nightlight. And now I have a nickname based on what I could assume was a mutation. My joy was overflowing so much that I wanted to throw myself in front of the cart.
And that's how I became a bucking princess. Okay. I didn't turn into a princess, but luckily my hair glowing was the only thing that came from the mutation. The doc said I was lucky. Most ponies get a good helping of cancer and tentacles when exposed to flux. After that, I decided to own the glowing mane and tail thing. It made me real popular at parties. Don't do chems, foals. As for the others, well, they went into the cola business, and I helped. It was a rough start, but things worked out in the end, and we all made a fair share of caps selling Sparkle Cola Fusion. Sadly, it never sold as well as we wished, and we all had to move on to new ventures. After some time, I became the DJ you all know and love, giving you good music and news. Now, if you ever decide to go looking for that stash of Sparkle Cola Rad, forget about it. The Orthos group went and checked the place out, and said it had been completely cleared out. The Sparkle Cola Rad, the Flux, the Lurkers, all gone. But they did find Coinflip, and brought him back so that we could all put his body to rest. So, to any hunters out there, if it glows red, you can do us all a favor and shoot it for me. Now, before I turn in for the night, let's have a word from one of our sponsors. Are you feeling low on energy? Life's got you ragged, and you just need a boost to get you through the rest of your day? Well then, drink Lurker Blue Energy Cola. Filled with so much energy, you might just fly. Look for the glowing blue bottles at your local stores today. And remember, if it isn't glowing, it isn't fresh.